Welcome back everyone to yet another episode of the platformer series by Hello World Guy, and let's get started with today's tutorial. So if I hit the play button, this is what I had in the last video. You can see I can move, and that's our enemy right there, and I can click anywhere, and then there is a fireball spawns which is looking which is facing the direction towards my mouse cursor. So you can see that if I click here, then it's facing towards my mouse cursor. If I click here, it's still facing, it's like that. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. But of course currently it's not moving or doing anything else, so we want that as well. So how can we actually do that? So in order to do that, what I will do is go under here in my main project folder, and then go under the prefab folder and open up this fireball. Now I'm going to, if I just go in my scene view, you can see that that's our fireball right there. And I'm going to actually add a box collider to this, box collider 2D. And as soon as I do that, if I turn on all the gizmos, you can see that we see this green line appear, and that's awesome. But it might be a bit too large, I think. I actually want it not to be at the where we have got this lighting thing, but actually at the fireball itself. So I'm just going to change this a little bit by if I can find it actually, yeah, here, edit collider, and then just decrease this down to here, and change this down to somewhere there, and make this like here, and then change this to this, and that's awesome. So now we have got a box collider on this, which will help us detect collisions. And I'm also going to add in a rigid body to it, rigid body 2D, but make sure that it's set to kinematic. Alright, with that done, what we can do is I go under my script folder, and I can right click here, add in a new C# script called ball. Now this will be the main script that drives our ball, so just drag it on the fireball, and okay, I'm going to change this to fireball actually, I think. And okay, and the problem is that if you rename a file, then you have to also rename the class, or else it causes problems. So if I rename this to fireball as well in Visual Studio, you can see that you should compile everything, and then it should start to work. So if I let it compile, and then I drag fireball onto this fireball, you can see that it's added it. And that's pretty nice. So let's go under our fireball and remove these two choosing tags, and then we can start coding here. First of all, I'm going to go ahead and remove the update method. We do not need that, and also remove that comment. And here I'm going to begin by defining a serialized field, a private float called speed, which is going to be by default 10. And in here, what we are going to do is go under our start method, and we are going to first of all, let me actually add, we are of course going to use the rigid body 2D to move. So we want to use require component here by going like this, and then going require component type of rigid body 2D. Okay, so this will make sure that a rigid body 2D is actually attached and won't execute until it is, which will prevent null exceptions and other stuff. So get component a rigid body 2D dot velocity, and set that velocity to we want the bullet to move forward. But if I actually go in here, you can see that the bullet is actually moving, the way the bullet is facing by default is up, and that's the reason we used that up code in the last video for moving. We did that, and this is for we use a up direction. So this is the up direction where the ball where the fireball is actually facing. So here we need to use transform dot up multiplied by our speed, of course, and of course we don't need to multiply this by time to delta time, because rigid body will do that for us. And yeah, this should pretty much work actually. So if I let it compile, then go under Unity, and then I hit play, then what you should see is that if I click, then wow, there is a fireball that's going through stuff, but at least it spawns, and it spawns in the direction where I am facing, where I click my mouse actually. So yeah, that's pretty nice. And the reason is that oh, and one more thing is that I have made sure that the box collider 2D is a trigger, and make sure that it is, or else player will collide into it, which won't be very nice. So yeah, this is working like a charm, and all we need to do now is change it so that it actually destroys itself on collision. Now of course, if it doesn't collide with anything, we don't want it to continue infinitely. We still want it to be destroyed after a specific amount of time, let's say 5 seconds. So in here, there's actually a function here called invoke, which you can give it a method. If I go like this, you can give it a method name and then a time, and it will invoke it in that time. So if I go here and I give, let's say 5, and the method name is so we have to have a void here called destroy self, destroy self, and all this will do is destroy game object, and we will give it a float, and then for the name we will say destroy self. If you do that, then this will actually work. Let's just change this to let's say 1 second, and let's see if it works. So if I let it compile, go to Unity, and it's still compiling. Come on, it just takes a little bit of time to compile, which is kind of annoying, but well, we have to do it. So if I hit play now, then this should work. So you can see that if I hit play, then it's going, and the bullet just gets destroyed after 1 second, which is all nice. So of course 1 second is too less. I am going to change this to 10 seconds. All right, now this is working. So what I am going to do is actually we are going to now of course destroy even when we collide with something. So add an on trigger enter to, so let's just leave that below everything, and add in a on trigger enter 2D function, and of course this function gives us a collider 2D called collider, not collision. Come on. And in here we say we just, well, if we collide with anything, then we can just say destroy self for now. Destroy self. For now, later we will also damage it if it's a damageable or anything, but let's do it for now. We can just make this a discard, by the way. We don't need that. And after it has compiled, then you should see that it should automatically destroy itself on contact with anything else. And as this already has a rigid body, it should work. So if I play, then you should see that I can move, and if I jump and I just hit this, okay, it destroys itself on collision. Exactly. And that collision is with the player, which is totally wrong. So yeah, you can see that this is not going to work this way. So we need to have, I'm going to just change this to like this, and then move it below here. Come on. And in here, instead of just destroying ourselves without thinking, what we are going to do is just rename this to collider. We are going to say if collider dot compare tag player, if it is that case, then we are going to just return. Now this works, but we actually do want the ball to be destroyed on contact with the player, because when the ball actually touches the player, we like the player shoots the ball, then goes ahead and touches it somehow, then the ball should get destroyed, even though it shouldn't deal damage. So but we do not want that to happen in the immediate start. So for that, I'm just going to create a private bool called destroyed on player contact. By default, this will be false. And what we will do here is actually I'm going to add yet another method here called player contact timer, I guess. Just like that. And then here we are going to set this variable to be true. By default, this is false. So in here, what we do is just before we actually do this, we go here and we check if this actually destroy on player contact. So if we are supposed to be destroyed on him, we are going to say destroy self, I guess. Let's use that method instead, and then we are just going to return in the end. We are okay, so we are only destroying the player if this variable is set to true, and we are not allowing it to do any of the damaging or other stuff that we might do here. So we are setting this to true here, this variable to true here in this function. The reason for this function is so that we can go here and we can use invoke, okay, and then we can say this, and then we can say this, and this, and then what we can do is actually not like that, makes it something like 0.1, and then go here and from that function name add that name, and this should make sure that there is a little bit of delay before it actually starts checking collisions with the player, so it won't cause any problem. Actually, it might make much sense to not do that at all, because not allow collisions with anything, because there is a slight problem as you will soon see. Now if I hit play right now, you can see I can shoot vertical. Oh, come on. It's not working, seems like. Okay, I can shoot if I jump, and that is working. Okay, but and that is, while that is working, there is still one problem here, and that is that it's actually colliding with the tile map. Okay, so it's too low. Oh, come on, I didn't make it that low. It is by default, we had it somewhere here. So if I play now, then you should see that if I shoot in front of me, then it works. It goes and until it hits something, even though it can hit just a coin. That's not actually exactly what we want. We might add a layer system in the next video, but you can see that it's working, and it also collides with the player. So if I go in front, and then that works. But if I try to shoot below myself or above, then it kind of doesn't work. The reason for that is that this collides with the tile map, to fix that, all you need to do is actually just make it a little higher, I guess. That should actually work. So there are better solutions we could have adopted, like making it detect collisions with not detect collisions with anything for the first few moments. But now you can see everything is working, and I can shoot, and this is all good. Of course, I think that the bullet is a bit too slow, so just going in the fireball prefab and going in the fireball this here, this thing, setting it to 28, twice as fast as a player, so the player can actually not reach the ball ever. So if I play now, then you can see this. Oh, come on, that's quite fast. Maybe 15. Oh, by the way, you can change prefab settings inside of play mode. It doesn't really cause that much of a problem. Yeah, you can see that's working, and it's currently not dealing damage, and that's actually really simple to add. So let's do it while we have the time. Now the coding part was actually a little tedious, so I have done it already, and in here you can see I have added a new, in my fireball script I have added a new serialized field for damage. But the point is that we want the damage of every fireball to be set individually, because sometimes multiple entities might be using this fireball. We might have an enemy that shoots fireballs, so we want it to have this kind of damage, but even if we don't, then we want the damage to be variable. Sometimes the player might get a boost up, and then we don't want to change every fireball in the game. We want to only change the player. So in here we do have a serialized field called damage that we can set in the inspector, and by default our damage will be equal to that. But if I actually go here, I have added it to, and by the way, this hide in the inspector is so that it doesn't automatically show the public field. And I have added two properties here, for one for damage, these are public, and speed. So these can be changed by other scripts which are spawning this fireball. So if I go under my player script, in here I am setting fireball. I'm creating a variable of type fireball called ball, and I'm setting it, this instantiate returns a game object, so I'm setting it to dot get component fireball. And after doing that, I'm setting the damage to be equal to the damage variable we have got in the player, which might be 15, let's say, or 20 maybe. 15 is enough, I think. So yeah, it might be equal to that. This is going to override whatever we have in the inspector by default for the ball. And if I go here now, we are actually dealing the damage. It's very simple. Just before destroying the object, you want to create a damageable d collider.get component, simple stuff. And if it's not equal to null, just damage it with the damage variable that we have got here, which can be set in a script or in the inspector, with the script one taking preference. So if I go here, you can see that I have gone ahead and added in a damageable to my enemy. You can see we have got our health here. I'm just going to change that to 60. 30 actually is enough. I have made sure that I'm in debug mode, so I can actually see the private health variable as well, because currently the enemy doesn't show its health. We will add that as well. But if I play now, you can see that currently the health of the enemy is 30. If I shoot once, then the health changes to 20, surprisingly, because the player okay, so the player, if I go in here, you can see, let me just check out what the hell the damage is. The damage is 10. All right, change that to 15. Then hit play. Then this should actually work. So if I shoot, if I shoot the enemy, you can, if I select the enemy in here, you can see that its health is 30. And if I go ahead here and I shoot the enemy, you can see its health changes to 15, and then I can shoot again and changes to 0, and then I can shoot again, it doesn't go below 0. So yeah, that's pretty awesome, and this means that we have got a working system for the actual enemy, for the actual damaging and the and the ball. And in the next video, we will add some cool effects along with a death system for both the enemy and the player, and maybe a health bar for the enemy. Maybe we'll make it in the next video, maybe not. So yeah, I will see you in the next video, and stay tuned for that. Also make sure to like and subscribe, and well, bye.